The question is, how do I deal with the comparison trap on social media, even when Christian influencers are posting thirst traps that trigger my lust? Yeah, we're going to jump into this. The thing that I would say to the person that's really, really important to understand is social media is a contest. And if you understand this, it's all about who has the best assets in life. And by assets, I'm talking about your body, your possessions, your status. Think about all of the highlights and what we put online and what people do. So when you say you're dealing with the comparison trap, that's typically what happens. And the perfect Bible verse I would go over is in Colossians. Colossians chapter 3 verse 2. It says, "Set your mind on things above and not earthly things." Every time I go on social media, there are inspirational things, but a lot of times it does not help me set my mind on on eternal things, but rather earthly things. So setting my mind on things above and not earthly things. So that's why that comparison trap is so real. And even people who use, the person said, Christian influencers are posting thirst traps that trigger your lust. So it really comes down to, what are you seeking? What are you following? And in Romans chapter 12, we're going to go to Romans chapter 12, verse 2. It says, "Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And then you'll be able to test and approve what God will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." And actually, the verse before that, it says, "I urge you, brothers and sisters, in the view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies," because we were talking about lust, "your bodies as living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship." Why do I want to say this? Because being conformed to this world, even if it's other believers, even if it's other people that claim to know God, but yet they're posting things that's triggering you. You need to understand your triggers, because when you don't know what triggers you, and everybody's different, everybody can look at things differently and not react the same way. You need to understand, first of all, unfollow, and you need to be mindful of relying too much on social media to connect with other people. We live in a time now that it's easier to pick up the phone and stroll than it is to go into a building, than it is to go to events. But I would recommend, if you're following believers, but you're realizing they're posting things that's triggering you, it's time to ask yourself, when was the last time you were in a small group? When was the last time you were in some, a personal relationship with someone in person and not online? Because sometimes it's so easy to click follow, click subscribe, click like, and that's your connection to believers and people of the faith. At the end of the day, a lot of us don't know these people that we follow. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't follow anyone, but be realistic, understand what's going on, and really challenge yourself to get outside of social media, get outside of the online world, and get to know people, actual humans that can help you with this journey. The other thing I want to talk about is being mindful of how much time you spend on the site. So if you're saying that these influencers are posting thirst traps that trigger, how long are you on this app? There are things on our phone that can even tell us how long we've been on an app. And you can actually personalize, you can actually set up where you only allowed yourself 3 hours a day, or 2 hours a day, or 1 hour a day. And what you can do is basically set a timer on your phone where you're only going to spend 15 minutes looking at things and different things like that. But the other cool thing now with social media that will really help you is, when you see something that is triggering to you, you can just post that. You can literally click not interested. So if I go to Instagram right now, let's say it's Instagram or YouTube or whatever, I'm just going to click on this right now. And they have it where if you go on your explore page or someone that you follow, you can go in and say, hey, this is a post that you can say not interested. You can report it too, because a lot of times, these platforms are getting better, And they typically feed you things based on what you're looking at. So if you're following people that are helping trigger this lust, and they're believers, but for some reason they're posting things that are not helpful, and you're dealing with comparison trap where you're comparing yourself to these people, it's time to stop relying so much on social media to connect with people. Be mindful of how much time you're spending on these platforms, making sure that you pray to God that God help me with my eye and my ear gates. Help me to see things, hear things, and know when to put it down. You may even want to take a break from social media, or just media intake for a month, a week. See how your mind is. Get into prayer, talk to other believers, and find other ways to connect with other people. Because if you're on this path where you want to live right for God, you want to honor God with your body and your mind and your spirit, you really need to surround yourself with people that are not going to post things and do things that will trigger you, whether it's comparison, it's your lust, it's whatever it is that you're dealing with. That's how I would deal with the comparison trap on social media, even if you're following other believers and they're posting thirst traps. And if anybody doesn't know what a thirst trap is, it's basically where you're posting things that are really provocative, and in the world they would applaud it. You look sexy, you look handsome, you look whatever. But if you look at it and you're like, wow, I see your breasts, or I see, a man has his shirt off. You can stroll on social media and then all of a sudden these things just pop up. And sometimes this happens randomly, but you have to be mindful and guard your mind, guard your ear gates, guard your. Ever since when I was on my journey, even now, I'm very sensitive to certain media. And I even have to have a guard up for myself to say, you know what, it's enough. I need to put this thing down. And I have to block this person. I cannot be with this person anymore. I don't want to talk to this person. I need to not. So you need to find other ways to connect with other believers, and don't just rely on social and online interactions to get inspired, to get educated, get into your word, meet new people. And don't compare people's highlights, because that's not their entire life. And even if that is their goal, is to get attention, is to get sponsorships, to get money, you don't know people's agendas. So I would be very careful of comparing who you are and what you do, because that's also a trick of the enemy, is to have you second guess what God is doing in your life because you're so focused on other people and what they have going on. Because there's a beautiful purpose that you have, that you may realize that I need to focus on this. This gives me fulfillment. I should be doing something of value for other people. But great question. How do I deal with the comparison trap on social media, even when Christian influencers are posting thirst traps that triggered my lust? Thanks again for listening to Live and Purified. My name is Debbie. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other questions, and I'll talk to you next time.